types of patina. The most common are the desert patina, this brown, and this kind of green-brown color here. That's just from being in the ground and being exposed to the air for thousands of years. It's possible to remove that, but if you remove it, you've damaged the coin and you've lessened the value. Patina is part of what makes it authentic. You can authenticate the coins because they have that on there. All ancient coins will have that. It's possible to fake it, but under a microscope you can tell. So you definitely want to leave the patina in place. And on identification, so almost all of these coins are going to have a person on the front. In most cases, that person's going to be an emperor, but it might not be. It might be a member of his family. But typically, that's the way Roman coins work, is they have a person on the front, and they have a legend around the edge. And then on the very edge, they may have some beading. Anything written in this blank space, that's called the field, and this is called the bust. And on the bust, you want to know, well, we'll talk about that in the next slide, which way it's facing and things like that. But what you're really wanting to do to be able to identify it, because you probably don't recognize all 200 emperors, is you want to read this legend. So you're trying to clean off around the edge, around the letters, so that you can read the letters. And there are a whole bunch of common ones that you should try to recognize. And since we only have a limited time today, you'll want to clean off the letters. You want to clean off the letters that aren't IMP, imp, and CAES, C's, because most of them are going to say imp C's, right? Emperor and Caesar. So that's this, CAES and IMP right here. And I'll have my microscope set up so I can help you look at the coins and we can look at the letters and try to identify them. But you want to get past the IMP, CAES, because that doesn't help us identify it. We know they're emperors, we know they're Caesars, we want to know who it is. And usually their name is right after that. I think that's the case here, where it's really hard to see, but there's an ESP, so that's a V, so that's Vespasian. So we can tell. The most common one is Constantine, and we're going to look at him in just a second. To help identify it, which coin it actually is, once we figure out what emperor it is, if you can figure out which way he's facing, so he's either facing right or facing left, and what he has on his head. Those are the two easiest ways to start identifying. So this one has a bear head. That's pretty rare. Usually they're going to have laureate, which is like the laurel wreath around their head, or radiate, which is the Statue of Liberty spiky looking crown. Those are the two most common. And whether they're looking right or left, that's going to help you identify it. I'll show you some websites here in just a minute that help us identify the coins. Also, whatever is on the back of the coin, this is a pretty common one. This is called a camp gate. So this is Constantine. He's the most common emperor in these unclean coins that we're going to see. So some of you will probably get a Constantine coin. It's going to say CONS, cons, and then sometimes additional letters. So like this one has CONSTANI, Constani, I guess. But they're going to abbreviate it, but they're always going to have CONS. And it's either him or his family. There are like 20 different Constantines. But Constantine the Great is the one who changed the Roman Empire over to Christianity, and he changed all the coinage and minted a whole bunch of coins. So the most common coins to get are Constantine coins, and the most common type are camp gates. And they're pretty neat because they have a building on them. There are some people who just collect camp gates. You can also identify what battle they're talking about based on the legend that's around here. It usually says where this camp gate was. And there's all kinds of, they count the bricks, they count the levels, they count how many doors, how many turrets, whether there's a star. All those sorts of things help you identify that coin. Down here, usually on most ancient coins is where the mint mark is. And there are a whole bunch of different mint marks, so we can tell where that coin was minted. That helps you identify it. So the emperor on the front and the letters around the legend, around the face, which way he's facing and what's on his head, and what's on the back, and if you can make out the mint mark at the bottom, if there is one, that helps us identify the coin. So those are the quick things that we're going to be looking for. Also, because I'll be there with you, I can recognize a good number of emperors just from the way their faces look, but not all of them, because there are a whole bunch. But the most common ones I can usually recognize. There are several good websites to look for partial legend inscriptions. So if you can just make out some of the letters, you can type that into Wild Winds, and it's going to help you find what emperor it is or what coin it is. And you can also search on Google with the partial inscription search. Just type it into Google, and a lot of times it'll come up. Sometimes it'll find a similar coin on eBay or something like that, but it does help you identify it that way. And Wild Winds also has where they have all of the pictures. I also have the Handbook of Roman Imperial Coins, which if we can make out the legend, I can use that to look up the emperor as well. You can read a little history about him and identify a value for the coins. All right. It is also, to alleviate any parental concerns and all that kind of stuff, it is safe to do this. You don't need a gas mask or gloves or anything like that. You're not going to get lead poisoning. You're not going to get any kind of nasty chemicals, because what we are going to do, this is me ridding a coin of bronze disease. Bronze disease is not an actual disease either. It's a chemical reaction in coins that ruins the coin, and it's difficult to fix. So that's why I'm using chemicals, and I've got the gas mask on and that kind of thing there. We're not going to be doing anything that complex. What we're going to be doing is really simple. It's possible to get carried away. I would not recommend buying a whole Roman outfit just for doing this. And if you need to contact me, my information's on the screen. Now, I'm going to tell you about what we're going to do when we go over there. So we've set it up. You're going to have a terry cloth towel and some napkins to clean up spills and water and clean your hands off and that sort of thing. You're going to have a little cup of baking soda, so very inert chemical, nothing's going to hurt you, and a little cup of water, a toothbrush, and a big long toothpick. And those are going to be your tools. Now, with using a toothpick, because it's made of wood, you are not going to be able to scratch up the coin because the coin's made of metal. You're not going to be able to ruin the patina. So you can use it as hard as you can scrape it on the coin. A couple of methods that I recommend. I recommend getting the coin wet and rubbing a little bit of the baking soda on there, and then taking the toothpick and scraping it really hard across it, and then using the toothbrush. And just repeating that process, wiping off the coin. You can get some more water every once in a while and keep your water cleaner, but there's no special chemicals or anything like that. That's what you're going to use to clean off the coin. And I've kind of cherry-picked some coins over there that I think will clean up pretty good. But if you get one and it's not working, bring it up to me. I'll take a look at it, and we may switch it out for you to try to get you something that we'll be able to identify. Don't be disappointed, though, if you can't identify your coin. You're not able to identify every one of them, and I can't tell before they're cleaned for 100% certainty that we'll be able to identify it. That's part of the process of cleaning it. Usually about half of them clean up to where you can recognize what it is. And then just be patient and have fun. When we're all done, to preserve your coin, you'll want to wash it off in clean water, dry it off, and then I can put, if you're completely done cleaning it, you're not going to clean it anymore, I can put Renaissance wax on it. That will help stop any of the reactions to the air, and it will keep your coin from getting bronze disease. And then we will put it in a holder for you after it dries from getting Renaissance wax on it. So I recommend Renaissance wax. It's like $15 for this little tub that has lasted me. Well, I've had this exact tub for 10 years, and I've used like that much of it, and I've cleaned like 1,000 coins. So it's a lifetime supply right here for you for like $15. But anyway, any questions? Do you want to clean 2,000? This Renaissance wax. It's museum stuff. Yes. Do I know what? Okay, so all of these are coins from the Balkans, which is the edge of the Roman Empire, Eastern Europe, and that's where they come from. Yeah. So, but they're all going to be Roman, almost all going to be Roman coins. So they're from the Roman Empire. Yeah. Yes. Probably not. No, because there are millions of coins. So probably not touched by Jesus. But it's cool to think about who from ancient history might have touched them, right? It's pretty neat to think about. But we won't be able to tell. There's no test to see if the apostles or Jesus or anybody touched them. So you could think that maybe they did. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Follow up to Mackenzie's question.
Yeah.
Do you have a coin that you would say that you own that you would say is the highest likelihood that it would have been in the area where Jesus was or the apostles were?
Yeah, so I have 2 shekels of Tyre, which almost all, and both of them came from Jerusalem, and both of them are dated. So they were minted before Jesus was born, and they were found in Jerusalem. And the shekels of Tyre are what they used to change the money changers used on the temple. So eventually, almost all the shekels of Tyre in that area were on the Temple Mount because they would change their money into it. They'd get a shekel of Tyre. They'd turn around and put that into the treasury. So it was kind of a scam. We'll talk about it more tomorrow. But so there's a scam that they were running to get extra money. And all those shekels of Tyre were on the Temple Mount when Jesus overturned the table. So those coins were, I can almost say with certainty that they were there on the Temple Mount when Jesus overturned the tables. So it's possible that those coins were there. And that's the type of coin that's from the 30 pieces of silver. So it's possible that they were one of the 30 pieces of silver. It's unlikely, but it's possible. And that'd be the most likely candidate. So, yeah. You can't clean those because they are clean already and protected. But yeah. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes.
And this might be a question for a different time, but the likenesses that they have on the coin, you know, in British history, some of the patterns and stuff are not true to life. And on the coins,
Right. Some of them are right. So there's different. The answer to that's complicated, but the quick answer is there's different qualities. In Rome, they were pretty good at making likenesses. So I mean, they're high quality, but at different times, when like after Nero died, there's the year of the 4 emperors. Some of those likenesses are very similar to the one previous because they're quickly making coins, and then that guy gets killed, and they're like, oh, let's just change the legend and keep the bust the same. And so some of those are thought to be not very accurate. But you look at Nero, And I think he had a dedication to art, right? And he wanted it to be realistic and true. So you see some of his coins are not very flattering, right? He looks pretty heavy. I think that's accurate. And then other times he looks very, very thin and athletic in his younger days. So I think that sometimes they're very accurate, and sometimes probably if he's got a self-image problem. Nero made a giant 103-foot naked statue of himself, so he must not have had too much of an image problem, right? So he was proud of what he looked like, I guess. But yeah, if they had an image problem or some kind of issue, they probably had him airbrush that out, right? So just like they do with Photoshop nowadays with celebrities. Yeah, this is early Photoshop, so I guess. Good question. Anything else? I'm going to break that if I play with it too much. All right, let's adjourn here, and we will reconvene over at the fellowship hall.
Just imagining us walking into the guy making the coins and like, what filter did you use?
Do I